Thunderstorm chances return to Texas beginning today, but they really ramp up tomorrow. Some of these storms, yes, will probably be severe. Let's talk about who may begin hit with hail and wind in this Tuesday edition of the Texas Weather Roundup. Good morning, it's Tuesday, the 21st of May, 2024. I am Texas Storm Chasers Bully-in-Chief David Reimer. It is going to be a hot, summer-like week across the state of Texas. That much is not going to change regardless of who ends up getting thunderstorms or not. Certainly approaching the time of year where we start switching up into a less active thunderstorm department setup and more of a it's going to get hot and humid setup across the state of Texas. We're not there yet, but yeah, it's definitely going to be hot with the first, some might say multi-day early summer season heat wave upon us, but well, after the last few summers, yeah, we'll see. Let's just get into today's severe weather outlook. This is from the Storm Prediction Center. The possibility of isolated to widely scattered thunderstorms possible east of the dry line this afternoon through the early to mid-evening hours. We're not expecting many storms today, but as usual in May, those storms that do develop will have the potential to produce large hail, perhaps very large hail, and localized damaging wind gusts. The tornado threat today is very, very low, but again, any storm we have this afternoon off the dry line across portions of Texoma, North Texas, the Hill Country, the Concho Valley, into the Edwards Plateau will have the potential to produce very large hail up to the size of baseballs and localize damaging wind gusts. Now, as we go into tomorrow, that is when we appear to be busier. The Storm Prediction Center has now added a upgraded level 3 risk for portions of the Arklatex, Texoma, North Texas, kind of central Texas, but mainly the three aforementioned regions, with scattered severe thunderstorms possible across the Big Country, the Concho Valley, into portions of central Texas and the Hill Country. Isolated severe storms possible, the northern Brazos Valley, down into south central Texas and the Edwards Plateau, with several severe storms possible. Tomorrow afternoon into tomorrow evening, North Texas, Texoma, Northeast Texas, the Arklatex. Tomorrow, the potential for the most intense storms across portions of North Texas, the Arklatex, into Texoma, into the Concho Valley, to produce very large hail, probably larger than the size of baseballs, the potential for damaging straight-line wind gusts, perhaps of 70 to 80 miles an hour, approaching hurricane force, and the potential will exist for a few tornadoes tomorrow. Again, tomorrow does look to be the much busier day compared to today. Today, we may only have a few storms. They'll have hail and wind. Tomorrow, we're probably going to have more storms, and they could be even rowdier with all modes of severe weather possible, including at least a low threat for a few tornadoes. As we take a look at the high-res rapid refresh model for today and tomorrow. Today, again, this doesn't really fire up any storms on this specific model run, but given temperatures in the 90s to low 100s east of the dry line, yeah, we're probably going to see a few storms. For what it's worth, this model does develop some storms late tonight to early Wednesday morning across parts of northwest Texas, southern Oklahoma, Texoma. I'll be honest, that may not happen. That's kind of an outlier in this situation. But if it happens, some of those storms, gusty winds, a lot of lightning, some hail. The real show, per se, will be tomorrow afternoon and tomorrow evening. You can see firing off the dry line, scattered to several severe thunderstorms, North Texas, the Arklatex, and Texoma, Northeast Texas. And again, initial storm mode is going to likely be supercellular, with a risk of very large to destructive hail. The potential for localized to not so localized, damaging straight line winds over 70 to 80 miles an hour, and perhaps a few tornadoes. If we transition over to a complex or a cluster of storms pretty quickly tomorrow afternoon, the threat for damaging straight line winds will be higher, along with some hail, maybe a tornado or two. If we stick with a supercellular storm mode, threat will be for big hail, strong winds, and a few tornadoes. Localized heavy rain's a given too. It's May. It feels like it's the Gulf of Mexico outside, so anything that fires over the next few days will be quite capable of producing localized heavy rainfall. But notice, we're not talking about a big old statewide rain event, and for what it's worth, we're not talking about big storms in Houston, Big storms in East Texas, big storms in the Brazos Valley. Over the next 2 days, you can see not really a thing going on in those areas. It's kind of more of a summertime pattern across the southern half of Texas now, and it's going to feel like it, with the chance for at least some storms continuing across the northern half of Texas. As we take a look at the wildfire danger over the next few days, well, that's getting a little busy again. We haven't seen that much red on this map since my head turned into a sunburnt tomato. Today, the potential is very high for wildfire danger according to Texas A&M Forest Service, the Panhandle, West Texas, the Permian Basin, the Guadalupe Mountains, the Trans-Pecos, down into the Big Bend, the Davis Mountains, and the borderland of far west Texas around El Paso. Tomorrow and Thursday, the fire danger becomes extreme in the borderland around El Paso, Guadalupe Mountains, the Trans-Pecos, or Trans-Pecos, whichever one you want it to be, down into the Big Bend, the Davis Mountains, the Permian Basin. So that, again, the western quarter to the western 20% of Texas, wildfire danger becoming quite high again and problematic. In terms of the forecast beyond Wednesday and the precipitation department, here, like they usually do. All right, here you go. This is for the Thursday through Saturday time frame from the global forecast system. You can see scattered severe storms possible again Thursday afternoon. Texoma, North Texas, Northeast Texas, the Arklatex up into Oklahoma. Friday, we may see a couple of strong to severe storms, perhaps east of the dry line. This one tries to fire them up across portions of East Texas and Brazos Valley. We'll see. It's still 4 days away. And then as we head into Saturday, you can see at this point, maybe an isolated storm or two east of the dry line. We'll deal with that when we get closer, but the one thing you're not seeing here is, notice, no big statewide precipitation event, no, flooding of half the state. East Texas, Southeast Texas, the Brazos Valley, excluding that one storm Friday afternoon this thing shows for now, stays quiet in terms of precipitation chances, so that is good. No widespread heavy flooding rains expected in East Texas, Southeast Texas, the Brazos Valley, the Golden Triangle over the next 5 days at least. That is good. It is going to be quite hot and humid, though, which means the mosquitoes are going to go nuts. And those of you without power still in parts of Houston and Southeast Texas, the heat and humidity is problematic. Otherwise, again, the best chance for storms over the next several days. North Texas, Texoma, Arklatex, Northeast Texas. That does not mean everyone's in those regions is going to see a storm. We're talking scattered storms most days. Tomorrow, yeah, we may have a higher coverage of storms, maybe a 50-50 shot, and if we have a complex of storms, well, that'll move across Northeast Texas, the Arklatex. But Thursday, best chance for storms, Oklahoma, Texoma, North Texas, Northeast Texas. No big overnight complexes of storms. We see storms fire up in the afternoon. They keep going through the late evening before dissipating or moving out of the state. And then we'll see what happens for Friday and Saturday onward. We may still have some isolated to widely scattered thunderstorm chances, but we're too far out at this point. There's nothing that screams, uh-oh, spaghetti-o, for any day at that time range at this point. Forecast rain totals this morning today through 7 a.m. Sunday from the Weather Prediction Center, looking at the potential for 1/4 to 1 inch of rain. Hill country, central Texas, Concho Valley, big country, northwest Texas, into the northern Brazos Valley. Notice rainfall amounts expected to remain below 1/10 of an inch. The Brazos Valley into southeast Texas, the Golden Triangle, at least most of the Brazos Valley, and East Texas. There will be localized heavier rain amounts, especially under heavier thunderstorms across portions of North Texas, Texoma, Northeast Texas, between 1 to 3 inches. We may start having some flooding issues as we get into tomorrow night, Thursday, maybe Friday, depending on how many storms we see in Texas Thursday and Friday and where they are. Widespread flooding? Probably not. But yeah, especially along the Red River, Texoma, Northeast Texas, y'all have the highest chance for storms as we go into Wednesday, Thursday, maybe Friday, and we'll see what happens from there on out. But as you can see, looking dry, western third of the state and southeastern third of the state at least through the next 5 days. It's going to be hot. Speaking of hot, let's take a look at the high temperature forecast. This is from the National Weather Service database today. Highs upper 80s, 90s, low triple digits. You can expect heat index values across the eastern half of the state to be about 10 to 15 degrees above the actual air temperature. It's not going to be particularly pleasant outside. Tomorrow, a little cooler in the panhandle behind a cool front boundary, whatever you want to call it, with temperatures south of that, summer-like, upper 80s, 90s, low triple digits, high humidity eastern half of the state, making it feel 10 to 15 degrees above the air temperature. Thursday, warming back up across the panhandle, West Texas, high statewide, mid-upper 80s into the 90s, lower triple digits. Friday, here you go, it's hot, 90s to low triple digits. And Saturday, 90s, mid-90s, all the way up to about 110 in the Rio Grande Plains around Laredo. So yeah, it's going to get even hotter as we approach this weekend. And as always, we appreciate y'all for tuning in for your daily Texas Weather Roundup. I'm sorry I wasn't around yesterday. Decided to take a down day since the weather was mostly quiet and we're looking a little more active for the second half of this week. We'll be back in the usual schedule beginning today. We may have an afternoon evening update for meteorologist Jason Cooley. We'll see. That is all dependent on his newborn situation. As you might realize, or might know, newborns, well, they don't care what your plans are. They're going to do what they want to do. Kind of like Mother Nature. So, we'll see. Otherwise, we'll be back bright and early Wednesday morning with the usual Texas Weather Roundup. But we'll probably have something this evening, too. We'll keep an eye out on storms. And then, yeah, tomorrow's looking busier, whatever your terminology may be, with isolated scattered chances continuing through the weekend. And it is going to be hot. Thank you for helping us exceed 36,000 subscribers here on the Texas Weather Center. We do appreciate that. We appreciate all those comments, good and bad. We take criticism, just not mean criticism. And of course, thank you to everybody hitting that super duper thumb up button. That really helps us with the magical algorithm known as digital media. We'll chat with y'all later on. Have a great Tuesday. God bless.